Good evening. Welcome to the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education special meeting of November 15th, 2021. We have a rather brief agenda this evening, but we have some important business items, and we have one very celebratory piece of business that we need to take care of this evening. This evening's meeting is, I'm sorry, hang on a second. Okay, we don't need a roll call right now. This evening's meeting is is a special meeting. By that, we are going to be taking a vote on a couple of items that are coming up out of our normal monthly cycle, and we also have some discussion items to take care of regarding primarily building and site issues. So we will have a couple of rather quick votes at the beginning part of our meeting. The remainder of our meeting, we will be discussing items in great detail, but we will not be taking any votes on those building and site items this evening. We will be taking votes on those items likely on November 29th at the meeting that we will be scheduling then. If you're here with us this evening and you would like an agenda, you can find one just outside the doorway that you likely came in this evening, to my left, probably still your left. If you are watching from home and you'd like to follow along with our agenda, you can find it on our website, which is livoniapublicschools.org. If you hover over the board tab, you can drop down and go to the meeting information, and there you can find agendas. You can also, in that same location, find any videos of former meetings. So if you're looking for detailed discussion on items that we've already discussed, or any voting items, or other celebratory type honors that we've been giving out at some of our previous board meetings, you can always find those there. One thing that is very important to Livonia Public Schools is respect. We teach that to our children at all grade levels, and you have our word that starts with this board table. We are committed to treating one another with respect and everybody that comes before the board with respect. No doubt we will agree on some items and disagree on others, but you have our commitment that we will do so respectfully. You will have our full attention, and when anyone is approaching the board, whether that's a presentation or audience communication, we ask the same in return. This evening's first item on our agenda is the appointment of Stevenson High School Assistant Principal. And may I have a motion, please?
President Burton.
Mrs. Acosta.
Move that the Board of Education of the Livonia Public Schools School District accept the recommendation of the superintendent and appoint Panagiotis Pete Katsadianis as an assistant principal at Stevenson High School beginning December 6, 2021.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Acosta, supported by Mrs. Jarvis. And we will be hearing from Mr. Abate.
Hello, thank you, President Burton. Good evening, everybody. This is maybe one of my very favorite parts of this job, and I have a wonderful recommendation tonight in Panagiotis Katsianis. How'd I do? I love, there's music in this name. I love to say this name.
I'm glad you said it. I don't know that I could have done it to save my life.
Well, but he goes by Pete, so
that's a good thing.
Pete it will be, but I do enjoy saying that very much. Mr. Katsianis comes to us with a wealth of experience and wonderful references. The folks from the district, he was most recently at Crestwood, really were saddened to let him go and to see him go. Everybody that he has worked with has just had nothing but good things to say. So we think we've really hit a home run here. We're very excited. So I'll just tell you a little bit about background. Mr. Katsianis has a bachelor's degree in history from U of M Dearborn, a master's in history from Eastern Michigan, and a master's in educational leadership from Madonna University. His high school teaching he did at Etzel Ford in Dearborn, 18 years teaching a whole array of high school social studies. He then became an assistant principal at Etzel Ford for several years. Most recently moved over to Crestwood High School as an assistant principal there, and he's now on his way here, pending your approval, of course. He was a Galileo leader. He has a range of experience in restorative practices, PBIS, you name it. He seems to have done a little bit of it or a lot of it. He's just very confident, very approachable, and a parent in the community, no stranger to the triad where he'll be working as two students in that Stevenson triad. So, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Superintendent Oquist for the final round of Mr. Katsianis' interviews, and we had heard a lot about him up to that point. A lot of people were really excited about that possibility, and we exchanged a couple of looks. He just felt like family, from the get-go. He's a really good guy, and I think you'll see that. So that's what I have to say for Pete.
Thank you. Mrs. O'Quist.
Thank you so much, President Burton. So we are absolutely thrilled to bring this recommendation to you this evening. As you know, we were looking to fill an important vacancy on the Stevenson High School administrative team. We have a couple members of the team here this evening, Mr. Mazzoni and Mr. Stromberg here to welcome one of their newest colleagues. And we do believe that we have found someone who reflects certainly the beliefs about meeting the needs of our students, supporting and advocating for staff who are working with our students, and someone who is a builder of community, a builder of culture, wherever he goes. And so one of the things that was really, really evident to us was his strong commitment to, again, to the student as a learner, but to the student as a human being, and connecting with them, building those relationships, and doing the same with the staff and making sure that they have the support to be able to do the important work that they do each day. We believe he's joining an outstanding team at Stevenson High School. We could not be more thrilled to bring this recommendation forward to you and are very excited about it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go further, since we are going to be voting on this item, Mrs. Bradford, would you please take the attendance for us this evening? We do have Mr. Centers and Mr. Johnson, who I know are out of town, unable to be with us, but can you please take the roll?
Sure. Mrs. Acosta.
Here.
Mrs. Bonifield.
Here.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Here.
Mrs. Bradford says here. President Burton.
Here, and we do have a quorum. Back to the business at hand with our assistant principal. Do we have questions or comments, conversation prior to taking a vote on this item? Mrs. Acosta.
Thank you. Personally, I can't say how excited I am to see him join our Livonia family in this position. He has been coaching with my husband for a long time, so our family has known their family well, and we're excited to see him in this role.
That's terrific. Any other comments, questions? No? All righty. We have heard nothing but wonderful things, so we're looking forward to this very, very much. We have, again, a motion to appoint Stevenson High School Assistant Principal by Mrs. Acosta, supported by Mrs. Jarvis. And Mrs. Bradford, would you please take the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Acosta.
Yes.
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford says yes. Mrs. Bonifield.
Yes.
And President Burton.
Yes, and that motion passes. Congratulations. Would you like to come up and say hello to folks? Welcome to Livonia Public Schools and
Thank
to
you so much.
your current role, but in a new district. So
Yeah, thank you so much.
We are thrilled to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for the wonderful words. I feel the support in the room. I just have a couple prepared remarks.
Fabulous.
Usually I'm better off the cuff, but you guys got me a little bit, so
That's okay.
I had to write some things down. So I'd like to thank the Board of Education, Superintendent O'Quist, Mr. Abate, for welcoming me to the Livonia Public Schools family. It's a privilege and an honor to be given this opportunity to serve the students and the families of the community I call home. I would also like to thank my loving wife, Cindy, my children, Tasso and Alexi, for their understanding, patience, and support. This is a tough job, long hours, and they're always there. Everything I do is for them, and I want them to know how much I love and care for them, and they mean the world to me. My wife Cindy and I could have chosen a number of communities to call home, but we chose Livonia. We chose Livonia principally because we wanted to raise our boys in a community that supports and values its educational institutions and are aligned with our beliefs. I spent the majority of my life in Metro Detroit. I came to the United States as an immigrant at a very young age. My parents committed their lives to our lives, and through their guidance and patience, my siblings and I and my family get to live their dream. I have an uncompromising belief that the opportunity to learn is a fundamental human right, and that all students possess the ability to learn in a safe and nurturing environment. And to that end, I look forward to serving the Livonia-Stevenson community. So go Spartans.
Terrific.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We are absolutely thrilled to have you join our staff. As I
excited to
said,
be
we've
here.
heard nothing but wonderful things, and your work experience through some strong neighboring districts certainly will pay off well, and we are thrilled to have that experience and your passion for teaching and learning and culture to join the Stevenson staff. So
Thank you.
we
Thank you
could
for
not
your
be
trust.
happier.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to take a brief recess, as is our custom, to honor our new, or say hello and honor our new member of our administrative team. We will take a recess, and we will be back in approximately 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome back to the continuation of the Livonia Public Schools Board of Education special meeting of November 15th, 2021. We just had the pleasure of officially voting in our next assistant high school, or rather our high school assistant principal for Stevenson High School, so we are so thrilled. The next item on our agenda is audience communications. I do have some information that does pertain to audience communications, an update for our board team and our district. I'm going to read this so I make sure that I get this exactly correct. Our practice in Livonia Public Schools has always been and will continue to be to strictly adhere to the requirements set forth for public school districts. After continued attempts for the last many weeks to gain clarification from multiple agencies on the emergency order announced on August 27th by the Wayne County Health Department, we received a definitive response from the Chief Health Officer of Wayne County just this past Friday, November 12th, stating that regarding school board meetings, that since our board meetings are held in a facility that does not house students, we are therefore not mandated to require masks as a condition of entry for visitors to our school board meetings. Masks are requested and are strongly encouraged to be worn by visitors to school board meetings in Wayne County. Mask use in our schools remains unchanged until this is lifted by the Wayne County Health Department. So seeing as several folks in the recent many weeks have addressed this issue, I wanted to make certain that that new updated information is out there. This did come to us just this past Friday afternoon after lengthy attempts to get clarification on this specific issue. Mrs. Oquist, I would like to thank you for your diligent efforts to work with many different resources to try to get to the bottom of that specific question. I do want to thank our community for getting through all of this entire COVID period with our school district. We, and I speak of we in humanity, in whatever industry you're in, certainly in the school district that we work in, we are very much trying to get through and help one another each day. Absolutely nobody likes the situation we're in. We certainly don't like the fact that our numbers are going up again right now. That's not what we were hoping for at all. But I do thank all of those in our community who help one another just to get through and to do the best that we can to keep our kids in schools and being educated every day. The next item on our agenda is audience communications. Audience communications is a time set aside for the Board of Education to listen to members of our community on whatever topic they wish to address to us. It is not a question and answer period, but rather it is a time for the board to listen. Each individual is given 3 minutes to speak. The reason that it's 3 minutes is that so it can be fair and equitable to everybody who wishes to speak, and that there's not longer times given to some individuals than others. We will have a timer set for 3 minutes for any of our folks who wish to participate in audience communications. So if you hear a timer going off, you can know that it's time for you to wrap up your comments, and that would be appreciated. We do that because we find that it's a more polite way than interrupting a speaker. The role of the Board of Education is threefold. It is to hire and evaluate the superintendent, it is to set policy for the district, and it is to set the long-term strategic goals and align our finances to those goals. Therefore, if your questions or items pertain to those areas and you have a specific question that requires an answer, you can expect your answer to come from the Board of Education. If not, you can expect to hear back from our administration, and that typically is in writing, and it takes a few days for us to get a response out to you. Again, you have our commitment that we will treat everybody that approaches the Board of Education with respect. We can agree, we can disagree, but you will have our respect, and we do ask for that in return. Our first speaker this evening is Mr. Johan Kaywood. Johan, could you come and take a seat? And if we
Tap the bottom button, it's clear until it turns green. Just tap it.
there you go. You're all set. Good evening.
Good evening, Colleen. Thank you very much, and I'm so excited to have a new assistant principal at my son's school. As you guys all know, I have 3 children in Livonia Public Schools. I did want to go and address one issue, and that was the policy for the board for police-student interactions and interviews at the school. I have confirmed with your safety officer, I believe it's usually called an SRO at the district level, that you have 2 policies, LDA and LDAJ. One establishes the SRO, the other says, and I'm going to paraphrase here, play nice with the local government. But it does not address any specifics on how police officer and student interaction should occur. And there is also not a administrative policy attached to that that explains that as well. And this is in contrast to other school districts within the state of Michigan, such as DPS, which has a very clear guideline for their staff and administration to follow. So I have one question, and I would like to know, is this board currently seeking to revise or create a policy that will address how police and student interactions occur and what the protocol will be for parent communication and consent before those occur? And that's it. I got to go pick up kids. So
Thank you.
I'll be watching you on the internet.
Thank you, and you can expect, since it is a daily operational type issue, you can expect a response back from our administrative team.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you. Our next speaker for audience communications is Sergio Meneza, I believe. I'm having a hard time reading the last name.
Minella.
Pardon me?
Minella.
Minella. Mr. Minella, good evening.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good, good.
You're welcome to have a seat.
I don't want to sit. I'm good. We good?
Yes, go right ahead.
I want to read all of you a text message, and I quote, "The school board is being overrun by hostile, screaming people opposing the mask mandate. The police were called, and it was ugly." That was a text message stating what had supposedly happened at the last school board meeting on October 18th. This was an egregious lie fabricated by the Chief of Staff of State Senate Representative Dana Pohanke. That Chief of Staff isn't here today, Mr. Dan Centers. This lie was an attempt by him to silence the voices of the parents, not only of this great city, but of this great state. This was a lie to help push a bill introduced by Senator Pohanke to silence the voices of parents at these very meetings. It didn't stop there, though. Mr. Dan Centers and Senator Pohanke, along with every other senator from Wayne County, voted no against the resolution condemning the United States Department of Justice for inhibiting parents' constitutional rights to free speech. All of us parents come to these meetings as of late to speak truths, looking for transparency from our elected officials and fighting to have our God-given constitutional freedoms upheld. The same Constitution all of you swore to uphold when you sworn into your position as a public servant. But in doing so, we parents were all labeled domestic terrorists. None of you are fighting for the kids or parents of this community, and it's almost as if all of you are fighting against us with all the major issues this school board is currently facing. Mr. Dan Centers is in breach of the conflict of interest and the code of conduct sections laid out in the Livonia School Board's 600-page Board of Education Policies and Administrative Procedures Manual. What is equally egregious is that none of you in this room has taken action against Mr. Centers. It's as if he has done nothing wrong. No action was taken because half of you sitting up here endorsed him in his failed attempt for a seat on the Livonia City Council. What happened that day when all of you went in the back room calling for a recess? Was anyone else in this room involved in perpetrating this lie against the people? What about you, Ms. Oquist? Is this the behavior that is allowed by the school board as a superintendent? What about you, Mr. Abate? Is this how things are run at central office? This isn't an attack on Mr. Centers as a person. This is bringing light to his actions as a public servant. Mr. Centers must be relieved of his position on the school board as he stopped fulfilling his position of working for the people and started looking after his own interests and maybe interests of other individuals as well. All of you in this room know what the right thing to do is, and the parents, not only of this community, but the state, are watching all of you. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Thank you. The one factual correction or update that I would like to make is that I, as the president of the school board, made numerous attempts to contact Ms. Dana Paul-Hankey, Senator Paul-Hankey, on this very issue to straighten out and make sure that that was factually made correct. Mr. Centers is out of town this evening. He did make a public statement at our last study session, and I believe he will be making the same public statement at our next meeting, which will be on November 29th. Please rest assured, it has been handled to a great deal by this Board of Education. It is not being overlooked. Our next speaker is Ms. Sarah Berry. Ms. Berry? Good evening.
Hello.
Feel free to take a seat,
Okay.
and your microphone should be ready.
Ready?
Yep, you're all set.
Okay. On October 24th, many Livonia Public School girls participated in Cheerfest at Walled Lake Western, which is an Oakland County school. The girls were permitted to perform mask-free. On November 3rd, MHSSA released the following statement. The statement says MHSAA recommendation for those local county health departments or school districts with a mask requirement. The MHSAA recommends that those schools within those areas consider and propose an exception that allows for students and officials in active participation to do so without a face mask. The wearing of face masks in some sports during active participation, such as wrestling during the match, swimming and diving, preparing to enter the water, competitive cheer during the round, basketball while in the game, and gymnastics during the routine could create safety hazards that have been identified by national medical organizations. I sent this statement to Holmes Middle School, where my son currently plays basketball on their 8th grade team, excited that my child would be able to play mask-free like the recommendation stated. The response I got was the Livonia athletic directors, high and middle school, have asked the district to re-examine this to allow athletes not to wear masks while playing, and we are waiting on word from central office and the Board of Education to let us know if there will be any changes. I applaud the athletic directors for asking for this change. I believe, based on past practice from the district following the MHSAA recommendations, this should be no different. It is my understanding that you've already said cheer girls do not have to mask during rounds for competition, and I ask that you extend this to our basketball players and other athletes mentioned in this document during active play as well. Thank you.
Thank you. As a follow-up, this item was brought to the attention of Livonia Public Schools, as it was to the entire state of Michigan. Athletic, all the departments who participate with MHSAA. Our administration is looking into this. As a matter of clarification, the waiver on that would come from the Wayne County Health Department, not from an individual school district. If you read the MHSAA letter in its entirety, it makes that pretty clear. I know our school district is working with Wayne County again to gain clarity on that item, and as soon as we do, you'll hear from our administration. Is there anybody else who would like to participate in audience communications this evening? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next item. Our next item is our rescheduled November regular board meeting. And may I have a motion, please?
President Burton,
Mrs. Jarvis.
move that the Board of Education change the date of the November regular board meeting, currently scheduled for November 22nd, 2021, to November 29th, 2021.
Support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mrs. Acosta. And Mrs. Opus, did you want to address this item, or do you want me to take care of it?
Really, we had an opening on our schedule for Monday, November 29th. We had some conflict on the board's personal schedule and cabinet personal schedule for the 22nd. And so is in a desire to have everyone there, and that only being one business day in between while we're open. We took advantage of the opening on November 29th. It's one of those months that has 5 Mondays, so that allowed us to get that in. So we will move our regular meeting to Monday, November 29th. There will not be a meeting on Monday, November 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board before we take a vote on this item? Pretty clean cut. We have a motion by Mrs. Jarvis, supported by Mrs. Acosta, to reschedule the November regular board meeting. And Mrs. Bradford, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Jarvis.
Yes.
Mrs. Acosta.
Yes.
Mrs. Bonnefield.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradford says yes. Mrs. Burton, President Burton.
Yes, and that motion passes. We are going to be moving on to our, now that we've completed our voting items, we'll be moving on to our discussion items in our Committee of the Whole. First item is item 4A, Committee of the Whole, and I don't have any items for the broad category. We'll move on to 4B, which is Building and Site. And Mrs. Bradford, can you please take over from there?
Sure, thank you. Okay, we have quite a few
We do.
Here that we're going to discuss tonight. The first one being the purchase of maintenance equipment and the 2021 bond, and I believe we're going to hear from Mr. Francis on quite a few of these items.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm going to hope that I don't need that. I'll introduce Mr. Weber, give him a chance to get himself prepped up and hairbrushed and all that kind of good stuff while I go through a couple other items. So, do you want to start with letter A?
Sure, yep,
Absolutely.
the maintenance equipment.
So the 2021 bond had in it, one of the items going into the bond initiative was to discuss, or I'm sorry, to purchase maintenance equipment. We did this in the 13 bond as well. The department has taken a look at a few of the items that are older, out of date, in need of replacement. And in the board's packet, you had a singular memo from me, followed by 3 separate memos on the 3 different items. Just to run through them, we have a wheel loader from Michigan Cat. All of these items, by the way, are coming off of consortium bid pricing, so it does satisfy the board's requirement to bid. So these are all the contract pricing items that we are purchasing. This one is a wheel loader, again, from Michigan Cat. We have a current wheel loader that it's a little bit older model, obviously, we've had for about 20 years, and we actually has some value, so we're looking to do a trade-in. I'm going to ask the board to, if this goes on to the voting meeting, the resolution would be for the entire amount of the new item. We don't want to play around with knowing what the exact amount on that trade-in is, because it's always easier to have the number be below than it is for it to go over. So $201,492.68 for that wheel loader. This is an item that's important in the district. We use this moving stone, moving dirt, helping to actually remove some of the playground equipment that we had. It is a very powerful machine. It gives our maintenance and grounds team the ability to do work on our own, in-house, versus having to get a third party to come out and do some of those jobs. So it gives us a really good opportunity to continue work at our sites across the districts. We also have a Toro Groundmaster. This is a cost of $134,482.92. We have 2 of these, and what these essentially are the very, very large mowers, like the 16-foot span that we're able to go to a place like former Bentley, which is just acres of grass, and be able to come up and down, knocking down taller grass if it's grown a little high. So this is an important machine. We generally have 2 of these. This purchase of the Toro Groundmaster would replace our older of the 2 machines, and we would take that to auction and try to get value for that. Again, all of these are coming from consortium contract pricing. Our last item is 4 grasshoppers. These are your standard 0-turn radius mowers that you see probably in your neighborhoods, et cetera, of landscape companies that come around. So we are going to purchase 4 grasshoppers. Each are $19,150. So the total of them comes to $76,600. And we currently have 4 in our fleet, if you will. What our plan here is to take 3 of the ones that we have here with maintenance department and grounds department, and send those to each of the 3 high schools, Franklin, Stevenson, and Churchill, take the ones that they have, which are older, and see if we can get value for those, along with the fourth one that we have here. So we'll now have our 4 replaced, which we use them far more and put many, many more hours on them with our maintenance and grounds team here. So we'll take the new ones, the ones that we have still have life, and we'll just kind of do that domino effect down to the high schools. We've done something like that before with pickup trucks and other items. So those are the 3 items. I request that they go on the regular meeting, and if you have questions, I'm happy to try to take a stab at them.
Anybody have any questions? I do, one. The grasshoppers, those lawn cutters, how long do those life expectancy of those?
Well, years is probably not is probably not the best
More
way to go. It's more like the hours you put them through. And we have over 600 acres of property that we mow, and we do in a 2-week period. So essentially, during the mowing season, when we get from spring into the fall, those machines are running constantly. And our team, after they use them, they clean them down, and they get them right back out again. So I can check on the exact date of what we have currently for, do we have it down there? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I can peek over at Mr. Lau's. It is actually over 15 years.
Oh, okay.
Not looking at my eyes. We have the ones at the high schools are over 15 years old. So we're going to be stepping them down. And the ones that we have here are about 15 as well. So we're going to try to take the ones that have the least amount of hours on them, get them down to the high school, and just, again, do that step down. 15 is a pretty good amount of time. For anything.
That's a long time for a mower.
Yeah, my regular Toro on my lawn, I've only had for about 3.5, and I'm already looking at it going, it needs a little loving. So these are the things that just, it depends on how much you use it. So it's not the years, it's more the miles, if you will.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
No.
Okay. All right, then I guess we can move on to.
Will we be putting that on the agenda for?
Yep,
voting
I
item?
have it. We're going to
Okay.
put it on for the regular meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
On the 29th. Okay, and then the next topic is bid results for the radio tower replacement.
Yes. We have a tower, which on top of it sets the antenna that our bus transportation department and garage all use. That tower is 40 years old. We have somebody come out periodically to check it out, make repairs, et cetera. The tower itself is the vast majority of the structure. At the top, again, is the antenna. So when the company came out to take a look at it, they said, this is really beyond, you need to replace this. It's beyond its life. You really can't keep it going. So we put out for bid, and you had the bid results in your packet. We had 3 participants, and the low responsible bidder was C3 Communications out of Oxford, Michigan, at a total amount of $59,950. There's quite some variance in the costs. One company is from Kentucky. I'm not sure why such variance, other than if they have more difficulty getting steel, getting different items. What we'll find in some of the other items that we've bid is that companies they don't know what their future cost of something might be, so they bake in a large amount. So fortunately, we did have a reasonable item, which came in just under $60,000. We would recommend C3 Communications, and this means that they're going to do the pad, bring the tower, install it, reinstall our antenna back on top, kind of soup to nuts, taking care of that. And I know that Mr. Martin, who is the fleet and garage supervisor, is excited and happy about that getting redone, because we've been kind of babying that through for quite a while.
Any questions? Mrs. Bonnefield.
Is there any scrap value in the tear down?
Offhand, I'd have to check to see if part of the bid was that they haul it away or if we take possession of it. So I'd have to check on that, and I can shoot you an email back during the week.
So disposal is one thing, but I didn't know if there was any market for the actual scrap that's in there.
Okay.
Good. And how soon would that be able to be replaced? Do we know?
I don't have a current timeline for you,
Yeah.
but I can look into that as well.
Okay. All right. Mrs. Jarvis?
Thank you. Mr. Francis, what is the tower used for? I mean, we've had it for 40 years. That predates cell phones. What do we use the tower for?
It is for our bus radio communication, and you need the tower with the antenna on top to hit all of the 36 square miles that the district covers via the buses. So in that way, from base camp, which is here in the transportation department, our dispatchers can be on their radios, as well as we have a handful of walkie-talkies that have the ability to bounce off of the antenna and transpond out to our buses so we can stay in communications. Actually, during the pandemic, we had one of our office folks, this is from last year, who had to be home and quarantine. They were able to take, and they live in Livonia, that person lived in Livonia, was actually able to take the walkie-talkie with them. But this is the heart of our bus communication while they're on the road around the district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else on that topic? All right, we can go ahead and move on to the next topic.
Is that on the?
Oh, that's going for regular
Yes,
meeting.
please.
Regular, okay.
Thank
And I'd
you.
like to welcome Mr. Weber over.
Hello, Mr. Weber, welcome.
Good evening.
Brian Weber, Plant Moran Cressa, owner's rep. You all are familiar with Mr. Weber, and we're going to talk a little bit because Plant Moran Cressa is owner's rep for both the 21 bond as well as our sinking fund. He was very nice enough to come join us this evening and have a conversation about the grant roofs. We also have another item that the two of us are going to talk about in a few minutes. But as a quick overview, before Brian jumps into the packet, is a little background for you, which we talked about last week at our study session, but also for the community. We have that, it's been an ongoing 10-year plan for roof replacements throughout the district. Each summer, we've been having designed and then bid and then re-roofed different school buildings throughout the district. And we had a handful already in the can, if you will, with regard to a design. Now, the market, all markets, are a little crazy right now, and we've been keeping an eye as best we can because RTA, Roofing Technology Associates, they are our designer and our partner in this roofing project. They were telling us some estimates of where the market is at. And at one point, we were estimating out, when we first started this a handful of years ago, $14 and change per square foot. And that started to go up a little bit to 15 and then 16. And he said, we're looking at an estimate of around 20. So we all teamed up in LPS, my team, Plant Moran Cressa, RTA, and we had a conversation. What do we do? And Mrs. Smith was involved with this as well with regard to the finances in the sinking fund. And we said, what do we want to do? Should we do no roofs in the summer of '22 because we're concerned where the market's at and we want it to come back down a little bit? Do we go ahead and do all of them? What's the plan? Our plan is to do Grant Elementary. And the reason for that is, well, yes, we want to be good stewards of the dollars of the sinking fund and the community's money. And yes, we know the market is up right now, but we have to weigh that against the condition of our roofs. And it is determined that Grant is currently in the worst condition. We're continuing to get work orders on them, leaks at Grant's roof, and the condition of it. We made the decision that it is worth going to bid on Grant to say we want to get that done. Of course, if it's a number that we cannot accept, we don't have to accept the bid, we don't have to do the project. But in this case, we do recommend accepting the bid, even though it is higher than our budgeted $20 or our estimated $20 per foot. So just to kind of make everyone on the same page, it is a balancing act between the need of the building and the continued repairs and the concerns that are going to happen throughout the school year versus going ahead and getting it done in the summer of '22. So with that, I can turn it over to Mr. Weber and let him talk a little bit about the process.
Thank you very much. The cover page is the Plant Moran Cressa recommendation letter, same format as typically for the sinking fund project. So just to walk through, it was our typical procurement with RTA, Cressa, and Mr. Lau's team and Mr. Francis, we put together a package, issued it publicly on the Sigma website as required, and that happened on October 15th. On November 2nd, we did receive 4 bids, and we'll go through that is, but 4 strong contractors did respond, so we were glad to see that. 3 of the 4 have worked in the district previously, and the 4th is a proven contractor we know from other districts. So we did have good coverage on it, as Phil, or Mr. Francis said. Prices were a little bit higher, but at least we knew the contractors and knew they were solid, fair pricing for what's going on in the market right now. And with that said, reading through the cover page, we are recommending Royal Roofing, and I'll flip through to the breakout. Royal did work on the district last year, worked on Riley and Randolph schools, both completed successfully. So we
Did a wonderful job.
Following the receipt of the bids, we held our typical post-bid interview with them, made sure they had all the scope and all the logistics, and talked through material pricing and everything, just to vet out what was going on in the market. And same thing we're talking now. It's a different time right now, unprecedented. So everybody felt comfortable following that, knowing they performed, and we felt comfortable moving forward. Total recommendation for a hard construction cost was $1,472,200. And similar to last year, we're requesting a 6% contingency of $88,000, or $88,332. So a total recommendation of $1,560,532. So the $88,000 will not be put into Royal's contract. That's something we'll hold to the side, address with field changes, anything unforeseen in the building, we then address with that money.
We've done well in contingency on the roofing projects overall. I'll hold off on that because one of our items is to discuss the 2021 sinking fund projects. But I don't want to get, or I should say, we don't want to get into a situation where the one summer something might go wrong, so you pull back all the contingencies. We want to stick with that 6%. It's not a real high percentage, but it gives us a contingency, and the record so far has been with the roofing projects that we haven't had to dig into it too much, but that's a good thing. And I recommend we continue to have that 6% contingency, because I don't want to have that one time that we said, oh darn, we had something happen.
And as he mentioned, it used to be 10%, we lowered it down to 8, now we're at 6. And the one challenge on this roof at Grant is there's some wood decking. We've dealt with a lot of metal decking on existing buildings to date, so this will be our first school we address wood decking. So should there have been any water infiltration, there's going to be more potential that we have to replace some of the wood versus a metal that would hold up a little bit better. So there is a little bit more potential this year to dive into that contingency. Skipping on to page 4, it has a bid result summary, touching base of the four contractors. We had Bloom Roofing, who has not recently worked on the district but is well known around. And then the 3 others were the J.D. Candler, Lutz Roofing, and Royal Roofing. All 3 have performed for the district in the last handful of years. So once again, felt very confident in it. There was a pretty large spread in the pricing. It's just inherent with, there's a lot of question on, the big thing is roof insulation right now. So there's a lot of markup and increases in the market availability of this roof insulation. So we think there was some safeguarding with some of the pricing, just not with the unknowns inherent with the insulation right now. And then last page of our packet is the typical roof heat map. This was presented with RTA when we recommended their services, and basically proving that what the priority was in the district. So we just accompanied this in our packet just to remind everybody that everything is really in the failed or very poor condition on this facility.
We have written 2017 survey data, but we did ask RTA to update the colors.
That's correct.
Really just on assumption. They didn't go back up and do another survey. When we did the original work with RTA and they presented us with their heat maps of every building, those colors, obviously, if it says, gee, this is a 3 to 6 year, and if that was 5 years ago, so they just sort of off of an estimate and off of an assumption, change the colors throughout the heat map to account for the year span, to make it be a little bit more updated and make a little bit more sense. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I had for it.
So, if there's any questions, we'll
Any
try to
questions?
answer those.
The one question.
Mrs. Burton.
You addressed a few of them already, which is that we have worked with Royal before, which I thought the name was familiar.
That's correct.
And you're comfortable with that. With product in any project being so difficult to get our hands on right now, are we going to make sure all that product is obtained by them before they start getting into our roof, because it's not unheard of in any industry right now to have product supposed to come and it's floating on a ship off Los Angeles and we can't get it.
Yeah, and it's a relevant topic. This is the same firm that did Riley Middle School last year. They didn't get material until the 1st of August, so that project didn't start until August and got finished on time. So we did not let them tear off any roofing. The intent is whatever they tear off that day, they have to have the material to replace it and do a temporary seal that night.
That's exactly my question,
That
is that we
is-
don't tear anything
yes.
off until we've actually
that's
got
right.
it on site.
And we have not only Cressa and Mr. Lau's team, but RTA's on site every day as well, and checking, they're another set of eyes to make sure that we're getting night seals, but absolutely.
And that's part of what we pay RTA for, is that they're there as well and on site. And we saw them when we were at Raleigh this summer. Mrs. Oquist, the cabinet team, several of us were housed there, and the RTA representatives were there along with Royal. We'll get into that work in a minute, but yes, it was very much the concern was, if you start this, can you finish this?
Right.
And we didn't let it start until they said, yes, we have material on site. And then for them, it was just a matter of manpower, which they absolutely provided.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Okay, then this would go on for the regular meeting.
Please.
Okay. All right, we can go on to the next topic, which is,
Mrs.
oh,
Burton, I'm going to excuse myself for just a second. My son just landed, and I need to make sure my husband got the text.
Gotcha. Oh, no,
I will be right back. I apologize.
no, not a
no
problem.
problem.
Family
Okay.
things happen every now and then.
All right, our next topic is the site work for Garfield Greenhouse.
Garfield Greenhouse is an item that is a joint venture and a partnership between Livonia Public Schools and Healthy Livonia in the city of Livonia. This is something that we've discussed, with the board several times over the past many months, and the opportunity to put that new greenhouse at Garfield Community School. It is something that, in partnership with the city and the city park that butts up against the Livonia Public Schools property at Garfield Community School, they are looking to do as the city to plant orchard. And as far as LPS, we are looking to put the greenhouse, and that would be a community greenhouse run by the students of the program at the Western Wayne Skills Center at Garfield Community School. It's a very exciting project, although it has been a bit of a uphill climb, just with the way the market has occurred and items have happened. But we are at the point of bringing to you, we did take this to bid, and it was for the site work, the foundation, and other relevant items. Mr. Lau has contacted DTE, get them involved. We did have OHM, who's our partner through Healthy Livonia, draw up for the bid the site plans. And we, as you can see, we had two companies that bid on it, and Universal Consolidated Enterprise was the low responsible bidder. There's quite a spread between the two. There's some confusion as to whether the other company who bid thought they might have to actually supply the greenhouse. We were pretty clear. Both companies were at the mandatory walkthrough before the bids were due, so we did do our due diligence, but for whatever reason, there is a large spread there, and we will be going with Universal Consolidated Enterprise as our recommended vendor for the site work. They will work on this into the winter, and we have a greenhouse that is coming from Grossman, that is coming from the East Coast, like we had already purchased previously, and the board had approved for that purchase. That will be coming once it's manufactured, and LPS will take possession of it, and we will store it on site at Garfield Community School. And when the site work is completed and it is time to install, Grossman is also the installer of the greenhouse that we purchased. So they will come and install that. They're behind anyway on their installations, so it's just sort of the whole calendar kind of moved on this one. We were hoping by late fall we would have had it done, but the world as it is. And we keep working on it, and it's going to get up there, and it's going to be beautiful, and community and students are going to benefit.
Okay, great.
Any questions? Okay, yes,
do have
Ms.
one
President
question.
Burton.
Again, company-wise, Universal Consolidated Enterprises is not a name that I've seen, but this is not work that we've typically done before. So, Mr. Weber, have you folks from Cressa had experience with them, or is this just such a unique project that we haven't had need to have any experience with them yet?
I personally have not. I can definitely do some homework, but it is a niche industry that there are greenhouses out there at school districts, but I have not had.
And I had the conversation with Mr. Lau, if we've used them. He said, we have not, but I know them, and they do this work around the metro area.
Okay, that's basically what I was getting at, is, I mean, obviously, we have not used them enough, or very much, but if others have, and if they come with a strong recommendation, then,
You can see they're out of Rochester, so they are a Metro Detroit company.
yeah. Okey-doke. All righty, thank you.
All right, and we'll put this on for the regular meeting?
Please.
Okay. All right, moving on. Our next order of business is the HED change order approval.
Okay. This is something that, and I invite Mr. Weber to chime in as well. This is something that Plant Moran Cresso was involved with also because HED was the architect for the renovation of this building. We had a contract approved amount for HED to do this building. One of the things that we have to do whenever there's an amount that goes beyond what the board has already pre-approved is, of course, even if it's 50 cents more, we're going to come back and ask for the board's approval for that 50 cents. In this case, it's $9,511 for hours worked by HED on this project beyond this original scope. Some of that is because of two main factors. One, we did get the general contractor to start earlier than the original plan. We knew it was going to be a tight summer. So once we had the ability to have our folks move out of that back west building, both the first and second floor, earlier than originally anticipated and earlier than everybody in the larger portion of the building to the east, we turned it over. So that caused an earlier construction schedule than originally planned on, than that was in HED's contract. Additionally, and I'll let you talk to this a little bit, but once we started digging in and taking down the ceilings in that west building, we found more work that needed to be addressed, and HED needed to put more hours in on that.
And just to clarify the first point, the earlier start led to them coming to site more often. It's just, it's not that there's more work there, but it's more trips for them, so that it's inherent that you get more hours. And we went back and forth and realized that, yes, there's what would have been assumed at the time they gave us a price. It would only be fair to give them a little bit more for the extra trips for that longer duration. All in all, it was a win-win. I think we needed that momentum to get the summer started quicker in that west building and allowed us to get the project done on time. It was just a trade-off of what's inherent with that. And then the second portion of it, there was additional design work involved. Like Mr. Francis said, once you take ceilings down, we had noticed there's infrastructure above those ceilings that hasn't been seen since the 30s, 40s, 50s that we then could have had to adapt to, redesign some infrastructure above. If you've been in the west building, there's some high ceilings over there. The rooms look amazing. It's just a matter of, we didn't know there was some stuff up there to allow that for that to happen. So redesign mid-span, issue some new drawings, make some changes to capture some of that space that you now see over there. So on a project of this size, this is absolutely not, this is something typical that we would normally work with a designer to adjust their feed based on some additional work, so.
And to be clear, the number of hours and the cost that they originally had billed was higher than this. Mr. Weber had long conversations with them as the owner's rep for Livonia Public Schools and discussed the feasibility of lowering the number of hours that HED would ask for, and brought it down by more than half, if I'm not mistaken, or about half.
It was approximately half.
Yeah.
There were some of the meetings we asked them, it turned into remote meetings that it was, I mean, trip charges were out there. So like I said, some of it was fair and we came to a reasonable agreement, and I think everybody came out on top because of it.
We feel comfortable with the number of hours, the dollar number to bring to you. We've had this on our docket for a while, and it's only coming to you now in November because we took the time to ensure that we were comfortable with the number.
Sounds good.
Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Well, they certainly did an excellent job, I mean, and they continue to, so.
It's fun when somebody who hasn't been here in a while, you know, if a staff member who's in a building shows up and says, oh my.
It doesn't even look like the same
Yeah, it's kind of a
building
jaw
inside.
dropper. It's really great. Okay. All right, then that's going to go on for the regular meeting then. Okay. Our next item is the update on the 2021 sinking fund projects.
We wanted to bring to the board, we had this conversation at the study session last week, but we wanted to bring it on camera for the community to hear the success of our 2021 sinking fund projects. This is entailing our roofs and our boiler replacements. So just to run through quickly, our roof replacements this past summer, Royal Roofing replaced the roof at Randolph Elementary and Riley Upper Elementary. MTD Construction replaced the roof at Hayes Elementary. And Lutz Roofing replaced the roof at Frost. So there's some familiar names in there. With regard to the boilers, we had 2 companies working on boilers. ECS did the boilers at Rosedale and Webster. This company was new to LPS and did what was reported back by Mr. Lau and his team, a fantastic job. Impressed, would be happy to use them in the future and hope they continue to bid. And Systemp, who has been with the district multiple times, probably a name that is familiar, always has worked well with LPS. They replaced at Grant, Garfield, Cooper Upper Elementary, and then here on this campus, they did 2 boilers in this admin building, a boiler in the Armco building, and a boiler in the maintenance building. So we had a lot of boilers, and these are those high-efficiency boilers that are taking less energy, less gas, less electric, and giving the same amount of BTUs and the same amount of heat out. So with that, I'm going to let you jump in a little bit on the contingency aspect and how successful some of the projects went.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to summarize, we tracked this contingency throughout the summer, working with the team to understand as conditions arise during the work weeks that we're tracking costs throughout to make sure we're not approaching any of the limits. And obviously, we've done very well the last few years, but it was a special summer with a lot of hurdles to overcome. So with the market being as crazy as it is, I think it needs to be acknowledged of the strong team that we've had, not only from the district, but our contractors and our designers, that for something this, it gets done and people don't think much of it, but there's a lot of challenges out there. You're ripping into roofs that are 50 years old, and there's a lot of surprises. But for the roof replacements, RTA, who we've worked with for years and continue to work with, for this to come in, I calculate it's about 0.5% of contingency we've used, which is unheard of in a scenario that their due diligence up front, the work they're doing the year or 2 ahead of and investigating these roofs just comes to pay off. So it should be known that bringing this money back is not just a typical thing that happens in every area. It's a good team effort, honest contractors that are not trying to gouge and get extra money along the way. They know it's a good quality set of drawings, want to get in and out and get done with the project. So not only that, the boilers as well. Same thing, UBS Engineering, it takes due diligence to put a set of drawings out there, and to have 0 change orders just means that they put their legwork into that design and execute it very well. So it's a lot of good news here.
Yeah, we're pleased with UBS. We're pleased with RTA as our partners with the district. We're pleased with Royal and MTD and Lutz and ECS and Systemp with the work they did this summer. We didn't hear boo about the boilers. I mean, it was really quite smooth. They got them in and up and running earlier than they had even in previous summer projects on into the fall. Things went incredibly smoothly on that end. We had mentioned earlier Riley and getting those materials in late July, early August. I remember the day we were sitting in the large group room or that community room at Riley, and you and I were getting on a meeting with Royal that we thought the meeting was, hey, we're going to punt to 2023 because that we understand that the materials aren't out there, and they got on that virtual call and said, it's coming tomorrow, look for it. And sure enough, trucks started showing up at Riley, and items started getting dropped off, and then there were roofers there, and then there were more roofers there, and then when the roofers, because Royal had both Randolph and Riley, when Randolph got finished, they sent all those guys over to Riley, and at one point there were 70-plus roofers on that roof at Riley. It was amazing. It was amazing. So
with an administrative team underneath them and coordinating underneath. So it was quite a feat and something impressive to see.
Yes. And so we want to give all of our partners a shout out for the summer of '22 and the hard work that everybody did.
Excellent.
21.
Any
Yes.
questions? President Burton.
Time flies.
Just kudos, too, to your team at Cressa. This is, yet again, why we're so thrilled to work with you. I mean, we are a large district, and I know that does attract attention when our bids hit the street. But a lot of that also is having you as an owner's rep, you meaning you specifically, Brian, and the entire Cressa team. We've been so thrilled to work with you for so many years. I honestly don't understand why any district would not utilize utilize your services. As it came up earlier this evening, even you were able to whittle down some costs for us, even in just a couple things that we looked at tonight, let alone have the push that when a district this size and with your push behind it, helps to get things done. And it's noticed. I mean, I know we've saved money with it. We've seen that for years and years. But not only saving money, but getting the job done and done well and done efficiently. And the fact that you know the contractors out there. You know, our team knows education, but you guys know building. Phil, you know both. but but thank you to you and your whole team at Cressa, because we could not be happier.
I appreciate that. I'm not trying to be modest, but it is a team effort. It starts with you guys all the way down to Phil's team, Harry's team, and everybody through it. It's a lot of teamwork and agreement and communication, and that's how these things are going well right now. So,
And I'll say that I've been in meetings with, on the other end here with Plant Moran Cressa and some of our architects, et cetera, and I will tell you that the way that you're speaking about Plant Moran Cressa right now is how they speak about this board to meetings with other vendors that we sit with. So when they say, you know, is everything cool here in Livonia Public Schools? Are we going to be, you know, good working here? And these guys say, phenomenal board, do what they say. They do what they say. They mean what they're saying, and they're very supportive. So it's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, is this for our information tonight?
This is for your information. This does not need to go to the regular.
Great.
The other A through E, yes, please.
All right, okay, well then I guess that wraps up our Building and Site Committee for tonight.
Thank you.
Great job.
have a good evening.
Mr.
Thank you,
Weber?
Brian. The next item on our agenda, and it looks like we're going to clip right through these. The Curriculum Committee, Mrs. Acosta, I don't have anything.
Mrs. O'Brien? No, we have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Finance Committee, Mrs. Bonifield?
I have nothing tonight, Mrs. Oquist, nothing. Thank
We
you.
have a busy month next month with
Yes.
finance.
It's coming.
Yeah, eat our Wheaties now, huh? Next item is item E, Personnel Committee, Mrs. Bradford.
We have nothing to report.
We do not.
We had that good news earlier, so
We
that
did.
was
Isn't
what
that
we enjoyed
wonderful?
very much.
Yep. Item F, Policy Committee, Mrs. Bonifield?
Nothing, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Sorry, I caught you off guard on that one because Mr. Johnson was not here this evening. And Legislative Committee, Mrs. Jarvis.
We have nothing on tonight's agenda.
Wonderful. This might be, Mrs. Bonifield.
We don't usually have board communication, but can I just say?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I just want to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this weekend. I know Madeline was a trooper and was there all weekend at
Hopefully you
the leadership conference for the MASB. I had some outstanding classes. Mrs. Jarvis was there, Mrs. Bradford was there, Mrs. Burton was there, Mr. Johnson was there, taking classes, learning some fantastic and inspiring presenters, thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you, and I think that goes along with, you know, some of the stuff that Phil was talking about, that, you know, we work together, and again, not all boards function quite as easily, and that was really brought to our attention again this weekend, but we certainly don't rest on our laurels, and we continue to learn and grow and just do the best that we can for the district and the kids, and just so blessed to be part of this team.
Absolutely. I couldn't add anything to that. It's an honor to work with this team. It really is. And none of us are born being knowledgeable about being school board members any more than any other role in education. But this is our professional development, and it really does show. The boards that we hear that struggle fundamentally don't get some of the very basic training. They have an opportunity to, but choose not to utilize it. But we are very, very blessed that we have a team that has all 7 members, and Mrs. Oquist encouraging us to continue to do that, so that we know exactly what our job is and how to do it well. And like any other industry, things are changing quickly right now, and we're trying to stay abreast of all those things. So thank you for bringing it up. It was a very, it was a long and kind of tiring weekend, but it was super productive. Yeah, yeah. Anybody have anything else they wanted to add this evening? No? This might go on record as one of the shortest school board meetings for our district in a long time. It is 7:44, and we are adjourned. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Thank you.